Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining us to talk about Jordan Smith, the defensive end from UAB, the University of Alabama at Birmingham, is the man himself, the football encyclopedia, Vincent Turner. What's going on, Mr. Turner?
How you doing this morning, Mr. Long?
Doing phenomenal. You know, when we do these draft prospects, I get sucked in by how much amazing information we have about these players. You know, football is interesting. The big players, you know, the quarterbacks, you know, the wide receivers and everything, you know, they get so much press and so much play that it's one of the things I really love about our show is that we go deep on every player in every position. And so that's one of the things that I think our fans and everyone would agree make our show really unique and special. And for everybody who is watching, thank you guys for telling us those same comments. And I pass those comments that you send to us on to Mr. Turner and to our entire team. So thank you for saying that. And also thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to all of our shows. And thank you guys so much for going over and listening to our podcast daily. Our daily podcast is doing great. And we have grown over 10,000. This is a real number. 10,000% in the last 4 months of putting it out there. And so thank you so much for that. And without further ado, Mr. Turner, I'm going to let you tell us about Mr. Jordan Smith, the defensive end over at UAB.
Okay, let me talk about Jordan Smith out of the 404. Locally here in the Atlanta area, went to Lithonia High School. That's produced one of the best offensive tackles that came out of high school football last year, Broderick Jones. And they had another gentleman that went to that high school that played on the University of Memphis Final Four basketball team by the name of Robert Dozier in 2008. But I love this young man, Jordan Smith. When he came out of Lithonia High School, he was a four-star recruit, went to the University of Florida, got in some trouble in 2016, had to leave the school on a credit card fraud. But let's don't hold that against the young man because when we're young, we make mistakes. But I like what the young man has done. He's kind of really took a second chance. He went down to Butler Community College in Kansas and had a great first year there where he had 77 tackles and 11 sacks. And again, he went back on the recruiting trail and he was highly recruited and he decided to go to UAB. Could have went to any school in the SEC, could have went to any school in the Big 12, but he selected UAB and Bill Clark. And I thought that was really, really something special that he said something there. It's not where you go, it's what you do when you get there. And when he got to UAB, man, the production in 23 games, I'm looking down here, 89 tackles, 23 tackles for loss. His career, he had 12.5 sacks, and he came a terror at UAB. Another thing I like about the young man, when you look at him, his height, he's 6'7", 255. He put on something like 25 pounds since he's been down there at the UAB in the last 2 seasons. But my grade report with him is his length, A+, his speed, A+. Most of all, his effort and his high mortar, A+. And he's a terror along the line of scrimmage. That's what I like about him. And if you won't gain film, all you got to do is go back to 2019, his first season at UAB and against North Texas State. He had 3 sacks. And then he came back in 2020, and he played against that program down there in Miami called the University of Miami, the Hurricanes, and produced so many great players, Ray Lewis, Clinton Portis, Ed Reed. And you know what? They got a pretty good quarterback, and Eric King and Mr. Smith had 10 tackles that game. And by far, he was the best player on the field from an offensive and defensive perspective. Just go back and look at the game film this past season against the University of Miami. Then when you look at him, how he rushed the passer and look at his game film, he reminds me a lot of the University of Tennessee. They had 3 good defensive linemen in the early 90s. Chuck Smith, who went to the University of Tennessee out of Athens, Georgia. They went to the Atlanta Falcons, had a great career. Chris Mims, who was a first-round pick of the San Diego Chargers in the 1992 draft, and Todd Kelly, who was a first-round pick in the 1993 draft with the San Francisco 49ers. All those guys can really get after the passer, and they were very explosive off the line of scrimmage. That's what this young man, Jordan Smith, reminds me of. And then it's another gentleman that was pretty good in the SEC that he has a lot of explosion. And you know what? He's from the 404. This guy, Greg Favors, who played at Mississippi State, who was a 2-time first-team All-SEC and went on and played with the Carolina Panthers and Tennessee Titans. So Mr. Smith is like his homeboy from the 404, explosive, off the line of scrimmage and a guy that really comes. And if you really want to say one more thing to really prove my point, and I'm always like this, game film doesn't lie. Go down to the Senior Bowl that was played a couple of weeks ago in January, and look what he did against Alex Leatherwood, who's projected to be a first-round pick, who played at the school down the road in Tuscaloosa, who won the national championship, who had maybe the most prolific offense in all of college football. Mr. Smith dominated him on one-on-one drills. So I love the young man out of Lithonia, Georgia, Jordan Smith, and I think he's going to be a player, and he's got all the attributes of being a guy that can get after the pass at the next level. So, Jordan Smith, I like you, baby. And the 404 is being represented today here on 100 Yards of Football.
Yes. Jordan Smith, defensive end, University of Alabama at Birmingham. What do you guys think? Please tell us in the comments, what are you thinking about this amazing, versatile player coming out of the University of Alabama at Birmingham? I'll tell you, when I hear these draft profiles, I think, I'm wondering which team. So let me ask you this to wrap up, Mr. Vincent Turner. If there were a couple of teams you could think that might snap up this amazing pick, who do you think it would be?
Well, Jeremiah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say one team that needs a lot of help in rushing the pass, and I think everybody can hit home with this. It's our hometown, the Atlanta Falcons. Grady Jarrett needs some help, and what would it be great to select a guy that's from your hometown, Lithonia, Georgia, which is 18 miles up I-20 East. That young man, I think, will be a perfect fit with the Atlanta Falcons based on the fact that that's been one of the Falcons' main Achilles heels, that they haven't had nobody that can get after the passer. And Jordan Smith will be a perfect fit.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense to me. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think, because Atlanta Falcons would definitely benefit from having him in. Michelangelo says 6'7", 275, big guy. Yeah, I definitely agree there. So all of our fans, keep dropping those comments. Thank you so much, Michelangelo, for your comment. And if you're listening to our podcast right now, thank you so much. And if you're not, if you listen to podcasts, definitely jump over and listen to our podcast over at 100 Yards of Football. We put a new podcast out pretty much daily now. And you can also listen to us over at Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Well, for the entire team here at 100 Yards of Football, I am so excited to be bringing you these draft profiles each week, and I can even be more excited except for the hosts that we have. We've got Logan Landers, we've got Vincent Turner that bring you these incredible draft profiles, plus the rest of our team, including two-time All-American Bobby Butler, including coaching expert Kevin Bull Jones, plus myself, the producer Jeremiah Long, and we're going to be expanding to tell you about some other sports here pretty soon here at 100 Yards. So thank you guys so much. Oh, and Michelangelo just told us he started watching us last year, so thank you so much for that. We super appreciate it, and please sure to subscribe if you're not listening to us now. And also, Michelangelo, you specifically tell us, is there anybody that you would like to hear us do a draft profile on? Because we like to look at our comments and pull information directly out of there to make sure that we're meeting all the needs of all of our listeners. So thank you guys so much. I'm the producer, Jeremiah Long. Mr. Vincent Turner, you want to take us out?
Well, one thing about Jordan Smith, I'm going to take it back old school. It's a group that came out of Atlanta, Georgia by the name of Brick. They had a song, I Don't Want to Sit Down. I Want to Get Out. Hopefully Jordan Smith is going to go into the 2021 NFL draft. I don't want to sit down. I want to get out. I like you, Jordan Smith. God bless here on 100 Yards of Football.
Yeah.